Tell them it won't break. You can use a little more pressure.
Oh, okay.
And
And those cartridges are a little longer. I've got the original.
so where'd you get those?
At, I think it's a Staples or the one there
Okay.
by Sprouts, just down the road from his office.
Yeah.
One is-
Staple.
Yeah, the one in the corner
Yeah.
there.
Okay.
And I asked the guy and I showed him what the thing was, and we looked and we looked, and they had the same plug-in, you know. So I figured, man, this should have worked.
Yeah.
But I didn't want to force it because. Great.
I'll come to meetings if there's dogs there. I'll come to meetings as long as there are dogs there.
Hello, Andrew. How are you?
Good morning. How you doing?
Very good.
I'd ignore me too. We are not. We're going to go to. Let's go do a prayer, folks.
Come with us, Annie.
Listen up, Andrew.
Go.
Jack, you're starting to walk like me.
Father God, thank you for this day. Thank you for this opportunity to serve our community. Help us to be mindful of community needs. Always protect our soldiers, overseers, here in the States, and international. Yes, it's in Jesus' name.
It was going pretty fast. There were trucks pulling in front of you. Right now.
Leslie just took his. Hi, Andrew. Andrew's not listening to us.
Hold it down back there.
Would you blame Andrew? Okay. Are we ready?
Ready.
6:01, boss.
It's 6:01.
Call to order, please. Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance.
That's okay.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Please.
Yeah, found my coffee.
May we have a little roll call, please?
Certainly may. Good evening, everyone. Councilmember Kelly,
Present.
Councilmember Turner,
Here.
and Councilmember Perkins,
Here.
Councilmember Mendoza,
Here.
Councilmember Best,
Here.
Vice Mayor Miller,
Here.
Mayor Croft,
Here.
and we have our attorney on, this thing.
Okay, introduction, presentations, and proclamations. We have a proclamation declaring April 2019 as Fair Housing Month. Is there anyone here from the Fair Housing Authority? Okay, hearing none, I'll just read this right where I am. Proclamation, Fair Housing Month, April 2019. Whereas the National Fair Housing Law of 1986, as amended by the Fair Housing Amendment Act of 1988, prohibits discrimination in housing and declares it a national policy to provide within constitutional limits for fair housing in the United States. And whereas the principle of fair housing is not only national law and national policy, but a fundamental human concept and entitlement for all Americans. And whereas April has traditionally been designated as Fair Housing Month in the United States, and now therefore I, Gerald Croft, Mayor of the town of Chino Valley, do hereby proclaim April 2019 as Fair Housing Month in Chino Valley, Arizona, and do hereby urge all citizens of this community to comply with the letter and spirit of the Fair Housing Law. In witness thereof, I appear to set my hand and cause the seal of the town of Chino Valley to will fix this 9th day of April 2019. 2019. 2019. 2019. 2019. 2019. 2019. 2019. 2019. 2019. 2019. 2019. 2019. 2019. 2019. 2019. 2019. 2019. 2019. 2019. 2019. 2019. 2019. 2019. 2019. 2019. 2019. 2019. 2019. 2019. 2019. 2019. 2019. 2019. 2019. 2019. 2019. 2019. 2019. 2019. 2019. 2019. 2019. 2019. 2019. 2019. 2019. 2019. 2019. 2019. 2019. 2019. 2019. 2019. 2019. 2019. 2019. 2019. 2019. 2019. 2019. 2019. 2019. 2019. 2019. 2019. 2019. 2019. 2019. 2019. 2019. 2019. 2019. 2019. 2019. 2019. 2019. 2019. 2019. 2019. 2019. 2019. 2019. 2019. 2019. 2019. 2019. 2019. 2019. 2019. 2019. 2019. 2019. 2019. 2019. 2019. right, the next item is item 3. It's called Call to the Public. Call to the Public is an opportunity for the public to address the council on any issue within the jurisdiction of the council that is not on the agenda. Public comment is encouraged. Individuals are limited to speak for 3 minutes. The total time for call to the public may be up to 30 minutes per meeting. Council action taken as a result of public comment will be limited to directing staff to study the matter, scheduling the matter for further consideration and discussion at a later date, or responding to criticism. Would anybody like to speak or call to the public? Hearing none, I'll move on to response to the public. Response to the public is an opportunity for the mayor to inform the public about how town officials address matters raised during the call to the public at the previous meeting. We have nothing for a call to the public. Number 5, current event summaries and reports. This item is for information only. The mayor, any council member, or town manager may present a brief summary or report of current events. If listed below, there may also be presentation and information requested by the mayor and council, and questions may be answered and no action taken. Does the council have anything for current events?
No, I don't.
Annie, do you have anything?
Mayor, is your microphone on?
No. That was on. This
Okay.
is off. Now it's good.
I will not say what I feel. It's hard to suppress my feelings. But I think I'll go home, Jack. You got it.
No.
No. Okay, thank you, Jack, for your help.
Yep.
The mayor, council, anyone have any comments? We'll do that again. Okay, status report by town managers of the city of Gritman regarding town accomplishments and current or upcoming projects. Ms. Gritman.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I just have a few announcements to make. First off, we've been having some public outreach meetings having to do with our special election. We had a request to have another evening meeting, so we have one this Thursday, April 11th at 7 p.m. at the community center. We also have one on Saturday, April 13th at 10 a.m. at the library community room. So I want those out there on the record. We have additional ones that we will bring those flyers to the meetings, but those are the next 2 that are upcoming that if anyone's interested in going. We have no study session for next Tuesday. The item that was on there will be moved to the May study session, so I just want to make sure all the council's aware of that. And then also we're seeking applications for volunteer positions on the town's boards and committees, and we're asking if anyone's interested to please apply at www.chinoaz.net, or you can ask for an application through our clerk's office. And that's all I had, except for I think we have another presentation by a staff member for the special election.
Joe-
But it's
who's doing the
agendized.
Joe, you doing the presentation?
No, Frank is.
You got Frank again, huh? Okay,
We
Frank.
do.
The next item is presentation regarding the May 21st, 2019 special election ballot question related to water system acquisition.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Just to redo one of these presentations we've done before. This is about the ballot question for the water system acquisitions. Chino Valley has 5, and I remembered 5 this time, water companies within the town limits. We've got a slide on it here. Up to the northwest side of town is Appaloosa Meadows. We've got Chino Meadows 2 Water Company in the red. Town of Chino Valley is the blue. The yellow is scattered throughout is the Prescott municipal system. And then you've got Wilhoit Water on the south end of town. So the town has been approached over the years to purchase or acquire those water systems. Some of the history of that, in March of 2000, there was a special election held where the question was, shall the town of Chino Valley be authorized to engage in any public utility businesses? That measure did pass by close to a 2-to-1 margin, I believe. But over the recent years, with the discussions and evaluations of the town purchasing those companies, there's also been a lawsuit in the 3rd bullet point it had to do with Marana versus Pima County in the 2012 to 2014 timeframe. Some of the rulings on there ruled that to comply with the ARS statutes listed there, a special election must specifically name the particular treatment plant or property that is to be acquired. So it's not just a general get into the utility business. The specific system has to be named. So that's what led to this ballot measure question that's on the May 21st ballot. It specifically names each of the water companies that the town could wind up acquiring at some point. Doesn't mean you have to purchase them now. It's just when those when it becomes advantageous to both parties generally, and that's what the question is. So really that's it in a nutshell. I think we've got one more slide for our 4-slide limit, and that's all, folks.
Well, that's an ugly one.
It's the best slide I've ever made. And actually, Joe Duffy helped me with that, so I'll throw him under the bus.
Oh,
So-
okay.
Aren't you ashamed, Joe?
So, and I think Jamie's got a slide she wants to present about some of the election criteria.
Good evening. I just thought I'd throw out some of the pertinent dates and let the citizens know how this is all going to go down. The voter information pamphlet, it says it's going to be mailed the 16th, but there's a possibility our printer may get it out this Friday, the 12th. So you will be getting that within the next week or so. If they mail them out the 16th, then it might be a couple days. Voter registration then closes the following Monday. So if you want to vote in this election, you live in the town limits and you're not registered, or you've changed your address or changed a name, go ahead and update your voter registration information. The ballots will be mailed out April 24th. And Yavapai County will provide on-site voting. There will be no polling places. We don't even call them polling places here anymore. They're vote centers. But there will be only one on the ground, and that will be at the Yavapai County Administration Building at 1015 Fair Street. Otherwise, we have the drop box right out there, and you can drop it there, or you can drop it at the drop box at Yavapai County. So for any of you who are running into Prescott or you work in Prescott, you can always take advantage of that. And then our drop box, we physically lock it up at 7 o'clock on May 21, so you have until then. And one other date, I just want to tell you, if you haven't put it in the drop box, you haven't put your ballot in the drop box or put it in the U.S. mail, by the 15th, don't do it, put it in the drop box. Because if you put it in the mail on the 15th, there's a chance it won't get there on time and they will not be able to count your ballot. So that's all for that.
Thank you. Any questions about the voting process? Okay. Let's go on to consent agenda. All those items listed below are considered to be routine, may be enacted by one motion. Any council member may request to remove an item from the consent agenda, be considered and discussed separately. Do I have anyone on this side?
No, sir.
This side?
No.
May I have a motion?
I'd like to make a motion, we accept the consent agenda item 6A.
Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay.
Aye.
Oh, you forgot Annie.
Thank you, Annie. Motion carries. Let's go on to item 7, action items. The council may vote to recess the public meeting and hold an executive session on any item on this agenda pursuant to ARS 38-43103A3 for the purpose of discussion or consultation for legal advice with the town attorney. Executive sessions are not open to the public and no action may be taken. Let's start with item A. Consideration and possible action to approve resolution number 2019-1136 decreasing the town's wastewater fees effective July 1st, 2019. Mr. Duffy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council. sorry about that. As we did last year, we looked at our wastewater treatment fees and what we're charging. And Mayor and Council has asked me to come back every year and review this and determine if we can continue to decrease our fees. The goal basically was to try to come up with the average within the state of Arizona, because our fees are a little bit higher. And so last year we did reduce it once. The history is in 13, we adopted a 5-year rate increase schedule for both water and wastewater. And then in December of 15, council basically froze the sewer rate increases to $64.14 a month. If we continued, they would be $79.02 per month right now, based on what we adopted in 2013. In 17, council approved another resolution which modified the rate schedule to provide additional clarification on how we applied the rates to multifamily homes and developments. And then in March of 18, about a year ago, we approved a resolution that basically decreased the rate from $64.14 to $62.14, and by the same percentage for all of our other rates. So I did just have a little bit of a recap on where we've been, and we're at the bills. You can see the blue line. You can see the bill was $64.14 in each of the last fiscal years. We took it to $62.14, and now I did the analysis as if we took it down to $60. The thing about it is the number of connections has grown substantially. We had 1,740 in 15-16. I'm projecting we're going to end this year with 1,970, and with just a reasonable amount of homes, we should be close to 2,000. One of the things that you don't see here is several of these are large commercial developments with multiple families in them, and so that made a significant impact on our revenue stream and what we received. So I did the financial analysis. This is on a cash basis. And as you can see, let's go to 15-16. 15-16, we're losing $275,000 that year. 16-17, with a little bit of growth, a little bit of really better cost management, we were able to get it down to $154,000. And in 15-16, to be fair, that's pretty close when we took over the plant. We're doing quite a bit of capital improvements during that time. In 17-18, we had a pretty large cash infusion, and a lot of that was from all the additional accounts and the buy-in fees. We had $829,000 in buy-in fees. Now, I'll bring your attention to the bottom here. Whenever the wastewater fund didn't have enough cash, it went to the general fund to borrow the cash to operate. And in 15-16, the wastewater fund owed the general fund $371,000. And it got as high as $588 at the end of the fiscal year. Last fiscal year, $73, and now the wastewater fund has paid the general fund back. Cool. So it owes it no additional funding. So my projection for 18-19 through the rest of this fiscal year is we're going to generate about $300,000 in positive cash. And next year, even with the rate decrease, we're still going to increase our cash. So we're still going to generate about $300,000 a year. So I think, as far as considering a rate decrease, we can afford to do it, and you guys will make the decision whether it makes good financial sense or not. But we do, as long as we're generating positive cash in these enterprise funds, they're healthy. I did a little comparison to other cities and towns, and basically this is our current Chino Valley rate for both water and sewer. Our residents pay about $102 a month on average. This is based on 7,500 gallons. And we get this data from WIFA. They have a company that surveys all the utilities within the state. The average water and sewer customer in the state of Arizona pays about $81. But within 50 miles, it's $97. So we're getting pretty darn close. The sewer, we're cheaper on water, but we're going to be about $10 more expensive on sewer. To look at that a different way, Prescott, the blue being the water rate and the orange being the sewer rate. Prescott is the most expensive. They're a little over $100. Sedona, again, a little over $100. Currently, Chino Valley, we're just right over $100, like $102. And if with the proposed rate that staff is recommending, we'll be just right at about $100 for average rate. So, and those are the cities and communities within 50 miles that they looked at for the average rate. So with that, this is what the rate, if council so desires, this is essentially, it's a 3.4% decrease. Last year was a 3.1% decrease, and it'll just take it, the residential rate from 62 down to $60. And our rate per fixture unit, which is how we do our multiple family units, we figure basically 20 fixture units per EDU, will go from $3.11 to $3. So with that, I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Questions? Yes, sir.
Joe, what are you using to determine the 3.4% rather than 3.2 or 4%?
Actually, I just took it from $62.14 down to $60. So I just made it a nice round figure.
Okay, because as you said when you started, our goal was, I believe, within 5 years to get us down to the average rate.
About $50, knowing that it's probably going to go up also over that time.
So is that kind of what you're gambling on, is that as other cities come up a little and we go down, we'll meet in the middle?
We'll meet somewhere in the middle, somewhere in
Okay.
the mid-50s.
Okay,
Yeah.
because that's what I'm looking at. At the rate we're going now, we'll be down to about $54, or, yeah, after a couple of more years, we'll be down to 65 or
Yeah.
I'm sorry, 55.
55, 54,
Right in
55,
there.
yeah.
And I'd just like to make sure that by the end of our 5 years, we do what we said we would do, for those customers and get down to that medium point.
Right,
So I guess we can reevaluate that next year, and if
Every
we need
year
to do
I'll-
a little more.
yeah. yeah.
Okay.
And I'm thinking tearing down about $2 a year is going to get us there.
Okay.
Will get us there.
Joe, with this reduction, are we still banking enough money to, like we did filters 2 years ago or whatever? or
Yes.
Is that going
We-
to be a wash?
Yeah, and actually, WIFA requires on one of our loans to do a repair and replacement fund, and then recommends it on a couple others.
Okay.
I've followed their recommendation on all of our loans, and we have about $700,000 in a reserve equipment fund
Good.
to cover any unexpected emergencies. And I continue to fund that every year.
Okay.
So it's actually how we paid for the filters. We pulled down $350,000 for it, so.
This side? Can I have a motion to reduce the rate to $60?
I'll make a motion to approve resolution number 2019-1136, decreasing the town's wastewater fees effective July 1st of 2019.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All
Wait,
opposed?
Aye.
I'll say and wait for Annie. She said aye.
I heard it.
Okay. I'm not sure. You can borrow my hearing aid if you want.
Do I need to speak louder?
No, you're good.
You just got to draw quicker.
You're doing great, but Jack won't let me stay up with you. Okay, that's carried. Thank you very much. Thank you. That looks like a good move. Let's go on to B. Continued from March 26, 2019. Consideration and possible action regarding the proposed modification to the town tax code to increase the transaction privilege tax rate for manufacturing home sales. Mr. Duffy.
Thank you again, Mr. Mayor and Council. I think I'll skip this slide. I'll do a quick little presentation just to update the audience on what we're doing here. On December 13 of 16, the town council reduced the tax on manufactured homes from 4% to 2%. And this rate went into effect on March 1st, 2017. The thing with manufactured homes and our tax code is it has a distinct category separated from just our general retail and rental income and all the different various taxing categories within the state. And so that gave the council the ability to actually reduce it for this industry in particular, where, you can't do it for just general retail because there's so many people. It's sort of general retail is where everybody gets thrown into the pool together. But for some reason, the Model City Tax Code had this special category for manufactured homes that allowed us the ability to even review it and determine, whether we wanted to have it different from our retail tax rate or not. In 16, the council decided to reduce it. Our regular tax rate for retail is 4%, down to 2%. So I did a quick little analysis. I looked at the total number of manufactured homes units. This comes from our building department. And in 15, 16, we had 55 and 60, 17, 40, and 31. I was able to also, just for comparison, just look at our total housing and the number of residential, which is in the orange, and single family, which is the site-built homes, and how that's grown over the last basically 4 calendar years. Then I went out and I looked at the manufactured home gross receipts, and in 15 we had about 2.1 million, and as you can see in 16, 3.8. In 17, in March is when we adopted the new rate, and we had a 6.5, and now we're up to darn near $11 million in 18 on a calendar year basis. Now that's 2 factors, I think, and one we know is housing in the last 2 years has done really well, and the prior slide showed that we've had a lot more homes being built, so of course you're gonna have a lot more manufactured homes being sold. But also, I think there is a portion of it that's related to the tax rate. And this is just the gross receipts that we receive. You know, when we adopted the rate, we did about 150,000. The first year, we were almost equal, and this year we collected 215. So that's the amount that we received off the 2% versus the 154 was the amount we received off the 4%. But what we looked at just a little bit further is I just took the total gross receipts and divided them by 100,000, assuming that the average manufactured home in Chino Valley was 100,000. And and then compared that to the building permits that we issued in Chino Valley. So in 15, based on the gross receipts, our dealers in town would have sold 22 units, but we issued 55 building permits. So that's telling me, you know, in rough numbers, that we had 33 units sold from outside being imported here that the town of Chino Valley did not receive any sales tax from. Same thing in 2016, we had 21 that were sold somewhere else, brought in here, set up, and we did not receive any sales tax. But in 17, after we reduced the tax, then they, at 100,000 apiece, they would have sold 66 units. 40 of them stayed in Chino Valley, and of course, some of those could have come from other places too. But we do know, based on that at least 26 were exported outside of Chino Valley. And so we collected the tax, and they were placed somewhere else. And in 18, that number goes way up, that 77. So based on this, and I got a little graphical representation, the yellow, we were in the hole for 15, 16, basically bringing in more units than all of our dealers here combined were selling. And then in 17 and 18, after the tax, we were actually exporting more. So again, there's 2 factors related to that. There's a sales tax factor, and then there's a boom in housing factor. And I can't tell you what that mix is. I have no way to figure that out. But I can tell you that reducing the tax rates did help the manufactured home industry in Chino Valley. And we have, you know, they opened up we've had one more other dealership open. We have essentially 5 manufactured home dealers. 3 of them are doing the bulk of the business, but we have 2 others that are also doing them here in Chino Valley. So with that, that's the information I know, and it's completely up to mayor and council, your decision and discretion on what you want to do.
So this process is, we have to set a public hearing first,
Yes.
and then we adopt the notice of intent and direct staff to take all necessary steps if we want to proceed.
If we want to proceed, yeah. You'll be adopting the notice of intent, which basically starts the public process. Yeah, I'm sorry, it's taking me, I know, sorry, Jamie. So you approve the notice of intent, and then we start the public process with the council holding a public hearing on June 11th. The tax rate will actually, if council elects to make the change, would go into effect on August 1st. So this is step 1 of the process if council decides it wants to proceed.
Okay. Discussion on this side.
Other than on your June 11th, it's if adopts ordinance,
Yes,
correct?
yes. Yeah, the council will have basically we're telling the public that we're gonna modify the sales tax rate between 2% and 4%. And that's, the amount is clearly within your discretion.
So on June 11th, we have to make another vote.
You will vote on June
We will
11th,
vote
yes, sir.
again. Okay.
That's if we want to move
If
forward.
we want to move forward.
If we don't want to move forward, we just do away with it tonight,
Yep,
and it's a done deal.
and we're done.
Okay.
So, questions?
I read the handout you gave us last time, and as far as the town is concerned, I think we're doing well, leaving it at 2%. And I would like to go ahead and see our sales tax for having to move outward, sorry, for, I think at the 2%, we're still making more money than we were, and the businesses we're exporting is what we're looking at. So my recommendation would be to leave it at 2% at this time, and we can reevaluate it a year, 2 years from now, whatever we want to do.
I'd second that motion if it's correct.
We're not we're not voting on it yet.
Oh, okay.
This,
May I?
comments? Yes, ma'am, please do.
I've been trying to arrange a meeting with Mr. David Rowe. Is he in the audience tonight?
No.
No.
No? Okay. My question is, you know, the big red shiny bow on this package deal for me specifically was increase jobs for our Chino Valley residents in regards to septic and wells and et cetera, construction for setting the manufactured homes. Do we have any numbers on that? I have not been able to meet with David Rowe.
He's shaking his head no, Annie. Joe's shaking his head no, we have no data on that.
Yeah, there's no way for us to really quantify the number of the additional jobs that this has created. Can tell you though that they did open one more dealership, so there are some jobs for sure.
Okay, Annie, are you satisfied?
Sure.
Sure. I was wondering if you were
No,
there.
Mr. Rowe and I have been trying to coordinate a time to get together, and it just has not been working out, and I believe he would have the answers for that. So I guess it just goes unanswered for me. That was just a big shiny red ball on this, was that it would provide more jobs, more business in Chino Valley specifically.
Okay,
I'm happy with the numbers. I wanted the cherry on the top, that's all. I'm done.
okay, thank you. This side, any comments?
Well, I don't see a downside at this point. The local businesses are doing better, the town's doing better, and I don't think that there's anybody that's out there shopping for a mobile home that is making, or a manufactured home, that is making that decision not to go build a stick-built home for a 2% sales tax. So I'm in favor of leaving it the way it is.
Okay, I'm gonna ask for a vote, but what I'm gonna ask for is a public hearing, to set a public hearing for June 11th, 2019 on the proposed modification to the town tax. I'm gonna ask a motion to be made to approve, and if there are a majority of votes yes, then we'll approve. If you abstain or you stop, then it will fail. You understand?
It'll stay the same.
It'll stay the
A
same.
yes vote will make it
In
go
other
back
word-
to forward, no vote will stay at 2.
Yes, no vote will stay at.
that's not accurate.
No, that's not what I said. What I said is, but maybe I'm confused.
By the way it's written,
In
Corey,
other words, we'll have to, is everybody to keep the thing? If they are, then, but I don't know where you are not, so we have to bring the vote forward with a yes.
okay.
And if we get enough yes votes, then we will proceed. If we don't get enough yes votes, then it will die tonight.
You're right.
Or if the motion doesn't even get a second,
If it doesn't
it's
get a
done.
second, we will die tonight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So from what you're saying, the yes means that the yes vote says we want 4% or a higher
We
rate.
want to move toward that.
When we
Okay,
move
I
to a
understand
higher
that
rate.
statement.
If you have a no, then it will, yes, we won't go any further.
Right, remains the
Okay.
same.
I'm gonna ask for you to give me a motion.
I'll make a motion to set a public hearing for June 11th, 2019 on the proposed modification to the town's tax code to increase the transaction privilege tax rate for manufactured housing sales. 2, adopt the notice of intent, and 3, direct staff to take all steps necessary to related to the council's actions.
Could we have a recorded vote, please?
You need a second?
Second.
Do we have a second? It dies.
Okay.
Let's move on. Okay. Continue from March 26, 2019, consideration possible action to approve a conditional use permit, CUP 19-001, for 12.35 acres, approximately 535 1,788 square feet of real property located approximately 0.25 miles east of the southeast corner of North Road 1 West and West Road 4 North at 683 West Road 4 North, Assessor's Particle number 30614-003S to allow the existing single-family residential use within the CL Commercial Light Zoning District. Mr. Lerman.
Mayor, Council, staff would like to withdraw this item. The applicant no longer is pursuing a conditional use permit.
Cool.
Do we have a motion?
Make a motion, we remove this item and take no action.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay.
You walked on her again.
What do you say, Annie?
Aye.
Okay. Motion carries. Thank you very much. Lon,
Make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Motion
Aye.
carries. Thank you very much for coming this evening.
Good night, Annie.
Good night, Annie.
Thank you, gentlemen,
That concludes our
and
council session.
Cecilia and Jamie.
Good night.
Night, Annie.
Bye.